Okay, so we have a new Lil Durk update. We're anticipating his trial in August. And as you guys know, when I went to the court, I witnessed firsthand in the flesh Lil Durk take a big W. Now, I'm not going to say he's cooked. I'm not going to say he's uncooked. But this is a very interesting update. Durk has filed a very serious motion, and the feds are also filing motions. And depending on which ones get through, are going to determine the level of cooked or W taking that we're going to be seeing from Lil Durk imminently. Okay, so this is the latest. Durk has apparently filed, or his legal team nonetheless, have filed a motion to suppress evidence that were obtained from one of his phones. Now, the police seized a phone from his home when he was apparently the victim of a home invasion in 2021. The original warrant only allowed them to take advices belonging to the home invaders, not Durk. So they're basically filing, okay, they said that they took his phone. It said a later warrant was used to search the device, which he argued was legally invalid. Said investigators kept all of the phone's data for years instead of returning or deleting information that they weren't entitled to keep. And if that's what went down, that wasn't the way it was supposed to go. It says the FBI waited about 5 years before getting a federal search warrant, which the defense argued was an unreasonable delay. The government also waited until July 2026 to disclose these texts to the defense for the first time. So it sounds like they just got some damning evidence and dropped it on Durk, and it's not gone down too well. So what is very interesting about this, this will be way, way, way at the bottom down here. This will be... this is probably the document here. Oh, actually, no, this isn't the one. This isn't the one. Hell. This is the document. There's been quite a few new filings today, so there's quite a lot to catch up on. But basically, as this says, you know, they're basically filing a motion to suppress the fruits of an unlawfully seized and searched cellular phone. And they're saying that the evidence was late disclosed. It was received in a way that was not proper. And basically, they're kind of making their arguments. I'm not going to sit here and read you this whole thing. But the whole of it is basically saying that the government just disclosed these draft trial exhibits. One of them was a text message, Exhibit 200, that was only for the first time shown to the defense at this point. The text should be excluded for the trial for the following reasons. It basically says the government Exhibit 20 is attached to the motion as Exhibit A. The government believes the screenshot was produced July 15, 2026 in Discovery Production 25, but the defense was unable to see it in that production, so it is late, all right? It was basically late disclosure, and I doubt that they're going to let us see the exhibit. They're going to put the exhibit. I don't see no exhibit. Is there an exhibit? I don't think there's an X to the exhibit. All right. That's probably sealed. That's probably not allowed to be seen. But anyway, as it says here, it kind of explains that the phone was seized in the Georgia Bureau of Investigation search. It's been in custody since July of 2021, seized from Durk's home after he was the victim of a home invasion robbery. It says the government could have requested it earlier and produced it earlier, and it was outside of the scope of the Georgia warrant under which it was seized. So they're basically saying that it was seized for one thing when they were investigating this home invasion, and they've then gone through and searched it and found incriminating alleged stuff on the phone, but they're saying the way you went about it was all wrong. Okay, and it gives an interesting timeline for this as well. Durk and his wife contacted law enforcement to report the break-in. They got a search warrant to examine his home, as well as any electronic devices belonging to the perpetrators that would aid in the identification of them. So they seized Durk's device, apparently, and, you know, they basically believed that it was outside the warrant, but they never gave it back to Durk. Now, that is a little bit dirty, if I do say so myself. So they then got on a search warrant to examine the phone, all the way back in August 2021, okay, years ago, all right, years ago, crazy. And they're basically saying that, like, you know, Durk is a member of the BGDS. I think that's meant to say the BDs or the... I mean, the BGDS would be Black Gangster Disciples, but in reality, that Black Gangster Disciples was some shit in the 70s that branched off in two directions. He'd be a member of the BDs, all right, on BD, on Phone and Grave. All of that stuff, all right? It says there are a lot of subjects that may want to harm or steal from Durk. Basically, he's a renowned celebrity. People wanting to do harm of him. And basically, they're saying it's possible people are trying to do harm to or steal Durk due to the amount of money being offered for retaliatory actions against D-Thang's killers. It said that the devices were collected from the scene that could assist with the identification of subjects who might want to harm or steal from Durk, but basically saying that, you know, it's improper, all right? And they're saying once a reasonable amount of time elapses, they're supposed to give the devices back, which didn't happen, and destroy digital copies, but GBI has had it in custody for over 5 years, and Durk was only charged in this case in October 24th of 2024, and all the way in July 8th, 2026, when the government gets a search warrant to search a hard drive containing forensic images of 2 iPhones seized from his residence all the way back in July 2021. And then they produced it. Production 25, Exhibit 200 wasn't able to be seen. They then exhibited it on July the 19th. And then the government had to get a second search warrant to search the iPhone itself after the fact. So that might not work too well for the state. They might have followed the wrong procedure in that, and it's all up to a judge once again. Okay, so there's basically make a bunch of arguments as to why it's, it's not recognized. They've gone overboard. It wasn't anything to do with the case that's going on. This case wasn't a case. Lil Pab was still alive when this phone was taken and Durk's home was invaded. So I'm not going to lie. It's a good move. I can't say it's a W for Durk. It's a pending W. If the judge is as sympathetic to this as he was to Durk having his charges severed, then it is going to be a W. Now, what's very, very interesting is the body cam footage for the 2021 home invasion at Lil Durk's house has only been released earlier this year. And in that video, we actually saw Durk explaining that his wife, India, had actually been the one who fired shots at the home invaders in Georgia. Now, a lot of people don't believe this. Some people think Durk was getting busy with them Glocks. And, you know what I'm saying? He had to put it on his girl because he ain't supposed to have no firearms. But we don't know. Nobody was there. No one can say that they saw it, but it's very, very interesting. Let's look at some of the body cam where we kind of see the state that Durk and India were in. And you guys can kind of give me, your thoughts on, what you think that Durk's state of mind was here. And the idea that the feds would actually seize his phone, hold on to it for 5 years, and then 5 years later, when a whole new case of a murder that happened after this, suddenly they're going to use that phone as evidence.
1345 ready. 1345. Can you just log that crime scene log has been started?
The crime scene log has been...
I'm not going to lie, folks. All right? He won't be living here anymore, obviously. But what I will say, all right? Durkio got all these people that want to kill him. All right, why ain't this a gated property? I'm assuming this is a gated community, beautiful home, but ain't no gate in front of the. What on earth we doing? All the GDs want to kill you. All right, you're gonna need to be fully gated, very tall gate that's unclimbable, in my opinion. All right, that's crazy.
Okay.
So that's India. Shout out to her.
Morning. You all right? Okay. So just have you sit in the car for now. What's going on, boss? Just have you sit in the car for now. Can't go inside. What's going on is we're going to get K9 to come in, sniff out the area, and then to see if they can get a track. Because y'all were saying, y'all told dispatch they ran out the back door. Do you know how many people you saw? 2 or 3 of them? Okay. Do y'all have your license with you? No? Okay.
Now, look, some small brain people would look at this and be like, Durk telling, but, at the end of the day, I doubt he gave them any kind of identifiable information. There's probably, I don't know if items were stolen, but, there might be insurance implications. And realistically, he just trying not to get himself a gun case in this situation. So, respect to Durk and India. At the end of the day, I've definitely passed judgment, just like we heard from the judge say, this despicable LA murder in the courtroom. No judgment has been made on that, but it's well within the judge's rights to say it was a despicable murder. And, I think if Durk is responsible for that murder, he's going to have to face justice for that. And, the evidence isn't looking too good. But that said, in the case where somebody is invading your home, at the end of the day, you've got the right to defend yourself. That's absolutely not on. Doesn't matter what you've done. Doesn't matter what you've said in a song. For people to come to Durk's home, and realistically, they were probably trying to kill him rather than rob him. It's totally not cool. And I think he is well within his rights to defend himself, and they're clearly shaken up. It's a horrible situation that they're in. And thank God that they weren't hurt in the incident. And, we will find out what the situation is with the despicable LA murder and whether justice will be done in that. But at the end of the day, look, I'm not going to clown on them or hate on them or suggest that they, there's anything other than my utmost sympathy for this horrible situation they went through.
Were they wearing masks? Were they not masked? They had like a face mask on them? Okay. You good? Yeah. Okay. Were there any babies present? Because I saw y'all had kids in there. Okay. What's your last name now? What's your first name, Miss Cox?
So let's skip some of this information. All right, this isn't necessarily important. But from here, okay, here's some.
So I know you said have someone come here. We don't want too many people on scene.
No, it's our bodyguard.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I got you.
Work for me.
Okay. Just have him park behind when he gets up behind the deputy. All right. So, what happened? Were y'all upstairs or downstairs?
Upstairs in the bathroom.
Okay. So y'all were upstairs asleep. What'd y'all hear?
Oh, it sounded like glass. Just big noise.
Okay. All right. Then what happened?
So, mother got asleep. She got up.
Okay.
My security always leaves his gun like around the house.
Okay.
So I hit a break in. She grabbed a gun.
Okay.
We creep out the stairs.
Okay.
That's when we see like 2-3 people like lifting their head up.
Okay.
That's when the shooting happened. They ran.
Okay.
So when I ran up, I told her to go in the closet. And she dropped the gun. I grabbed the gun, laid on the back porch.
Okay.
And that's how I simply put out time again.
Now, it's smart, right? Because he's basically saying security left the gun in the crib, and once they realized there was a home invasion, she had the gun and fired the first shots, where he said shots were fired. She dropped the gun, he said hide in the closet, and he picked up the gun. Now, if you're a felon and that's the situation, you're probably all good for firing that gun.
Okay. Now, did they shoot at you or did you shoot at them?
I shot it.
You shot at them? Did they?
They shot too.
Did they shoot first at you? That's what I'm asking. So they shot first. Okay. Okay. Do you know how many rounds you think you shot? Just a round. I know you. Just a few rounds. Okay.
She a real one. She's still got the bonnet. She getting busy with them Glocks with the bonnet on.
And then you dropped the gun, and then you picked it up, Mr. Banks? Okay. All right. So then once you dropped it, you picked it up and ran to the back porch. And then what happened? Did you say you laid down and watched them?
Yeah, I laid down.
Okay.
And they started screaming. I couldn't really hear. They was like, "Oh." And I shot to him.
You shot back? You shot at him?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So let me skip ahead a little bit for some more info because they continue more here.
Unlocated.
I don't need. Is that it? Okay, just leave it. Just leave it there.
The owner of it.
The owner of it.
Bodyguard.
Okay, that's fine because there's. Just to let you know, we found more firearms in the backyard.
2 Block 19, 1 Block 17.
That must be there.
In the backyard.
Yeah.
So I'm just letting you know what's going on. So we found 2 more
2
firearms.
Block 19 to 117.
So.
He had something too, so I don't know if they dropped it. I don't know if they took it. And when the shot went off, they dropped it, or I don't know if it's dead.
Okay. Where were all the? Were they just laying around downstairs?
Yes. When you come, you sleep in the basement. Like if you see you in the basement, you go up bed.
Yeah. Well, I saw that there was a safe back there, but that safe was locked.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, I saw a lot of cash on the bed downstairs. Do you know how much cash you had inside the house?
The safe was open.
Now, only safe I saw was the gun safe. That safe was closed. What I'm saying is there was cash laying on the bed.
Upstairs. Yes, that's where we were sleeping. Yeah.
No, not upstairs. Downstairs there was cash. And then there. Well, the reason why I'm asking.
On the bed, would it?
There was cash on the bed, and then there was cash. I think there's like a TV stand. Now there was a black bag downstairs with drinks and stuff. Was that y'all's? Like you get at a grocery, like a convenience store, and they put all in the black bag?
It was on top of the...
It was on top of the mattress that was downstairs.
See, like you talking about the main level.
No, sir, I'm talking about in the basement.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I probably I don't know. I can't tell you.
What time did the bodyguard leave?
He practically.
Yeah. Sometimes he stayed and sometimes he don't.
Did he leave last night?
Oh, no.
He stayed?
No, he just got back in town.
Okay.
He just got back in town yesterday.
Okay. You didn't get hit in the mouth, did you? Because I see your mouth's bleeding, that's all. I'm asking.
No, that's chips.
Huh?
You talking with the redness?
No, he's got, looks like there's dropped blood on his lips. That's all I'm asking.
Oh,
Okay. All right. Well, we'll let y'all know what's going on, all right?
So that was kind of the situation. Obviously, in the midst of all of this, they managed to get their hands on Durk's phone. Now, what's very interesting is when Durk sat down with, I believe, DJ Academics, he gave a very cryptic answer when he was asked whether they got back. Now, I think the timing of this is very interesting because this was about a month after Durk's brother D-Thang had been killed. But it was also... Hang on. It was also kind of not too long, within about, I believe, like a month and a half of the attempted first hit on Quando Rondo. So this is Lil Durk shootout in his Georgia home. Suspects flee the scene July 15, 2021. Okay. That wasn't too long after this instance. That was July 2021. And then this incident was May 2021. I gotta get rid of this. All right. Yeah, so this was May 2021 where they tried to shoot at Quando. So there's all different types of people that were kind of, suspects in this incident. And apparently there was also a whole little beef going on in Atlanta that I've talked about in a previous video where some OTF members were into it with other people in Atlanta. So there was also this nonsense going on. OTF Boona Lamron arrested for shooting that happened in March outside a mall in Atlanta. He allegedly hopped out an SRT and started shooting into a car with 3 men. 2 of them got hit and a child was hit in the crossfire. He luckily survived and was charged with 4 counts of aggravated assault, no bond. All right. So basically they were having, allegedly they were shooting at somebody from Lil Baby's crew, 4PF. All right. Lil Baby and Durk were cool. They've been saying that they're going to get a RICO. So basically, Durk had all these problems. We don't know exactly who's doing what or what was going on exactly at what time, which incident this was connected to. And, there's alleged attempts to get back in Chicago and all of this kind of stuff. So there's that. Now, allegedly, right, it's all alleged, but allegedly part of the reason why Durk was beefing with people in Atlanta was, it was rumored that King Von's sister, Kayla B, got her chain snatched. And, that was a whole thing that was going on in Atlanta that kind of preceded this situation. And if you want to see more of that, check out my Fall of OTF video. And just despite what some people said, this is it's not really a video about Durk. It's more of a video about all the fuckeries going on around other people that related to the situation. But anyway, okay, anywhom, all of this stuff was connected. But I say all that to say that basically Durk hopped on the interview with DJ Academics and basically gave a cryptic answer when they asked him, did you get back for the home invasion? Because there's all these different theories.
Move from that spot, wherever that spot is. You got out of there.
No, we don't live there.
Do you think about, I said this recently, I think people were shocked. A lot of people have security at the crib. That's just kind of, like, again, niggas is broke out here. They hear Smirk 50 M's up, they're like, yo, we got to go get that bitch.
Yeah, I got 24-hour security.
Good.
I got 24-hour security.
Good.
I got 24-hour security watching my house. Trained. Not trained. They're not trained to go. They trained to kill. And I broke it down. I had to talk with all of them. Like, man, like, I kill one of y'all if anything happens to my family. Then me, I go to A to B.
Obviously, you've been around situations like that before, but you think about your kids that could have been there. Your kids could have,
Yeah,
that's your father. Like, that make you feel differently about how you reacted to that type of shit?
Hell yeah. Because I'm like, they could have been there. So now they had to think about her, him. And it would have been a little difficult because it's like, I don't know what's going on. But just about having my back, like, man, I think somebody right. I think somebody just walked. I think somebody, man, look up, look down, don't go right there. It was just like, we was in that motherfucker like a movie.
Jesus Christ, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Did they ever figure out who was behind that? That had to be an inside job. Like a nigga who clearly.
I don't let nobody come to my house. Nobody. Nobody's ever allowed to my house. It be my best friend never been to my house.
For real?
So he didn't really answer the question, but there were rumors that Durk got back and this was connected to that mole shooting that happened a few months before. So this is going around. They're saying this is Runt, who's locked up from MCF and GG, Lil Man from MCF GG, Mark, who died, all right? And I've talked about this in other videos that some people think that this Mark guy might have died as a result of this situation. I can't confirm or deny. And it says Lil Man and Runt in slide 1, all right, being involved in that shooting with OTF at the Atlanta shopping mall, all right? Lil Man and Runt in slide 1 were arrested after getting into a shootout with OTF Booner at the mall, and a child was shot in the crossfire. Mark on the second slide is Mark's second slide on the left is one of the confirmed shooters in the home invasion with India and Lil Durk shooting back, but was killed before being caught by the police, and the beef came from MCFGG robbing Kayla B. Right? Allegedly, that's Mark, and it's all connected, and it all came from Kayla B. It says the beef started because Kayla B's Range Rover was broken into at the mall in Atlanta, and her chain was stolen out the car, and MCFGG members tried selling the chain to 4PF members. 4PF went back and told Baby and Durk who had the chain, and they demanded the chain without paying them. That leads to a shootout in the mall. So the 4PF members could have just bought the chain and gave it back to Kayla. Seems like Durk and them really care. It's saying... You saying that like dudes just like getting extorted, so it's a conflict of interest. 4PF can't buy the chain because then popping up with a chain after it happened insinuates 4PF had something to do with it. Ain't they 4PF's ops too? I heard Baby got people locked in with Booner over that shooting. All right, Booner was by himself and he said they was driving, then hopped out and started shooting at him, and Man and them started shooting back. So anyway, like, you get the gist, all right? There's a whole bunch of stuff going on with this. They kept lying, saying India was shooting. Come on now, I feel like Durk's saving his life. Ain't talked about too much. Definitely wasn't trying to go back to jail for possession. But anyway, you get the gist, all right? They're saying the apartments that the Me and Duty Low video was shot in their hood, and they used to be cool with them. They allegedly robbed Kayla B for money. I don't know the situation with her and her boyfriend. 21 Savage brother Harold tried to fix the situation, but it was on after that, all right? Baby tried to play the hero role to get the chain back. Glizzy from Lil Man crew and 4PF was clicked up at a point. Glizzy wanted paper, but Durk and Baby wasn't going for it, and it's been up with them ever since, okay? So there you go. Now you know the history, all right? So Redditors have kind of been reacting to the new filing about the illegal seizure of Durk's phone, and I'll show you some more filings that were made after that as well that were quite interesting. So this is kind of people on Reddit reacting to that, and there's a new subreddit called Lil Durk Trial, okay? They're going crazy with the updates. Shout out to Lil Durk Trial. Go and subscribe there if you want to keep track of everything, and I'll show you a few new updates from there. But people are saying they can't believe there's a Lil Durk Trial subreddit, but that's going to be running it up next month, all right? So make sure you get in there early. So the sad part about this is the people who face the same injustice but don't have the resources to fight. They're saying other people have been done dirty by GBI before. Said typical Georgia Bureau of Corruptions. If GBI, APD, or any DA's office in Georgia is involved, defense counsel going to be on their ass because this ain't Brian Steele's first rodeo. All right, so this is personal for Brian Steele. All right, he exposed how they misrepresented facts on affidavits, unlawfully obtained warrants, try and push BS theories based on lyrics and social media posts instead of solid evidence, lie under oath, Brady violations in the YSL RICO. They're saying this is probably the #1 reason he got Steele on the case. He knew Atlanta was going to come back up, and they never gave him back his cell phone. That's smart. They would have got Steele anyway because he's a veteran in Fed and state RICO trials in court, but more because the Durk situation is very similar to Thugs. I think Steele might be one of the top criminal appellate attorneys in the country, so he's paying attention to legal precedents in case they got to appeal it. Delete my iCloud if they think they're really on me, though. Yeah, that's not going to work. They're saying, so we're going to get 30 years instead of 200, all right? Firstly, it's GBI. Secondly, they're going to do whatever they want. Thirdly, it's getting blown off, and they'll be allowed to do whatever they want. Welcome to the South, okay? So, yeah. They're saying, you MS on here talking about it's sad that corrupt police are doing a dude dirty that put hits on dudes, lol. Don't nobody feel sorry for Lil Pab Mama at all. They're saying Pab was not innocent on Clubhouse, bragging and teasing, arguing with OTF. Why didn't nobody say nothing then? Lol, he entered the game and lost. That's how people look at it. So you can apparently, if you talk bad about people that you've never met, on Clubhouse, you can just be murdered, and that's fine, apparently. So, damn, he guilty for trolling. That means it's okay he got hit? Why should it be okay to troll and act like you up on the score on people without no repercussions? Lil Pab was nothing to do with it. He was trolling. All right. Anyway, let's move along. All right, this is kind of more. This is actually from the Lil Durk trial subreddit about this motion. They're saying this is why you pay Brian Steele and Drew Findling. I guess they're going to find stuff like this. They're saying Diddy had the most credible witnesses to get him indicted, and Steele made these theories look like poo. And Drew is the billion-dollar lawyer for a reason. Said they keep playing dirty because the case ain't strong. If it was, they wouldn't be trying all this BS. And the trial being pushed back once makes sense, but multiple times just shows they desperately want to see him do time or at least bleed his pockets. So Durk house got invaded, they took his phone, and half a decade later, they're trying to use what they found on the phone against him. So in addition to this, the government is also seeking a limited gag order, and they're basically trying to say that Durk and his lawyers have engaged in extensive public press campaigns about the case, social media, podcasts, press releases, media interviews, impromptu press conferences. Hello, friend. This is very interesting, right? Because they're going to make reference to the Free Durk campaign, and who else had a Free Me campaign? Young Thug. The Three Thug campaign, the campaign of you're using my art against me, it's so wrong. That's gonna kind of probably come up again. We're probably gonna see all these kind of political arguments of like lyrics shouldn't be used against them. It's just art, like it's just so wrong. But the thing is, Durk's lyrics are more incriminating than Young Thug's. That's the one problem with all of this back and forth, right? So it says that they tried twice to get the defense counsel to agree to a voluntary joint gag order, and they refused both times. They claimed that with trial just weeks away and publicity mounting, jurors will have increasing difficulty avoiding case coverage. And it says they want a narrow order barring both sides from discussing the character and reputation of the parties, expected witness testimony, the strengths and weaknesses of either side's case, or evidence likely to be ruled inadmissible. So I believe there was actually reference to this kind of like Free Durk campaign that was going on. I wish this saved where I was. Sadly, it did not. There's been a lot of paperwork filed in this so far. So this, I believe, is the request for a gag order. So a limited gag order prohibiting prejudicial, extrajudicial statements, right? I'm fairly certain this means that it's not going to stop me from talking, but it's probably going to stop me getting a little Brian Steele interview, a little Drew Findling interview, which I don't think I was catching anyway. But at the same time, all right, look, I feel like I've proven myself to be impartial in this. I know there's been a lot of anger, but you keep saying Durk was cooked and then you said he took a W. That's because he'd been cooked and then he took a W. I'm keeping it very, very real. I could have lied. I could have picked sides. I could have made the last court hearing that I went to in person and saw with my own eyes sound like a L for Durk. Well, they didn't actually grant him any leeway. Like, he's still going to have to fight. He's got 2 cases now. I'm not on that. I'm honest, okay? So at the end of the day, I'm going to keep it very real with you guys. But I can understand why it might be prejudicial to have Drew Findling, Brian Steele doing crazy amounts of press, doing the Free Durk campaign, and basically trying on purpose to taint the jury pool and make it seem like Durk is being unfairly persecuted, when in reality, he is being held to account for alleged crimes that are, currently... outstanding, really. I mean, we need justice for Lil Pab. We need to find out what happened with Lil Pab. We need to make the streets of Los Angeles safe, all right? Just like we need to protect these kids from people like David. We need to protect people. If Durk is really flying to get them, like he said in his lyrics, all right? I honestly, I think the streets need to be saved, all right? But if the evidence doesn't show that, and really he's just a rapper and a bunch of killers went and did a murder because they were on their own quest to slide for Von and he just decided to rap about it, and that's proven in court, then I'll accept that too, all right? And then the streets will be safe in their own way, all right? I'm definitely nervous about bumping into Durk in the courtroom, but at the same time, we're in a federal building that, like, ain't really shit gonna go down in a federal building, and I feel like even Durk's team can see that in light of him taking a W in court. I've been very honest about that. So anyway, it kind of says, until now, the government declined to seek judicial intervention, despite the defense repeatedly making inflammatory public comments. The government twice inquired whether the defense counsel would agree to a limited order prohibiting them from making extrajudicial statements to prejudice the jury, and they declined. They're basically saying that there's a constitutional duty to minimize the effects of prejudicial pre-trial publicity. Now, okay, I am independent media, so I can give you guys my opinion if I think Durk's cooked, if I think Durk's going to win. You've got people out here taking sides saying, oh, Ross, you need to stay on that side. What side? I didn't realize this was East versus West conference. I didn't realize this was the LA Clippers versus the LA Lakers. This is Lil Durk's life, and this is also justice for the streets of Los Angeles and beyond. There's no sides, all right? If you're on Durk's side, then you're completely biased. If you're on Quando's side, you're completely biased. I'm on the side of justice. I'm on the side of truth. And when I saw Lil Durk take a win, I threw my hands up. And I knew it would be embarrassing. I knew some people would be saying, well, you said, what happened to all this Lil Durk is cooked talk? Well, when I see him get cooked, I'll let you guys know. But I went to that courtroom for the first time. I seen Durk in the flesh. I seen him. All right. And I've seen his co-defendants. They look shocked to see me. But I seen him and I see him take the W. And I see the prosecution be flustered. And I see the judge get feisty and put it down, lay down the law and say, you think you ain't going to win this case. So that's why you pulling this move. Is what it is. And it's the first time we've seen that. But anywho, all right. They're basically saying there's a danger. They need to enter this gag order. There's no substitutes available. The activity poses a clear present danger to serious imminent threat of basically tainting the jury and, diminishing the likelihood of a fair trial. They need the gag order. The feds are claiming that it's necessary to ensure a fair trial. And it says from the inception of the case, Durk has been using his influence to try and change public opinion. Interestingly enough, it says Durk used his social media account with 15 million followers to publicize his first motion to dismiss the first superseding indictment, falsely claiming the government was using the murder case to criminalize black artists for their creativity. Now, that's a Brian Steele move. I'm not going to lie. That's a copy and paste from the Young Thug trial, all right? And not DJ Vlad. No, in here again. DJ Vlad's in here again, all right? Shout out to my guy, DJ Vlad, okay? He in there again, all right? He in there again. So DJ Vlad's interview with Drew Findlay is actually linked. I'm going to send that to Vlad, and I might send that to Vlad real quick. So they're mentioning quite a few interesting things. They've got a Lil Durk Instagram reel. Is that still live? Is this still live? These hyperlinks better work. They looking like they working. So this was like a whole production that Durk had put on, basically like making it look like, the government is presenting false evidence to a grand jury to indict him. Now, this was ridiculous. I'll keep it real with you guys. This is one of them ones where I'm feeling the Durk is cooked energy coming back, because this is low-key a misrepresentation of the facts. They said they presented false evidence to a grand jury to indict him. What they actually did was they basically, like, one of the versions of the video where he's talking about green light, go, go. There's a version of that video that somebody has put the Quando Rondo screaming no in the background when he says, look at your son on the news, he's screaming no, no. Now that song came out after the murder, and I don't believe Durk's team when they say that the metadata shows that the song was created before then. That could mean that the beat, the file, the project file or folder was created before then, but that doesn't mean the verse couldn't have been altered within the several month window between the murder happening and the song being released. And regardless, Durk signed off on the release of the song where he's talking about screaming no, no. But the social media clip that basically showed, the Quando Rondo news clip, basically after Durk's lyric, basically broadcasting to the world, Durk said this and this is what happened. That basically was included erroneously, and in the superseding indictment that came afterwards, they removed that. Now, I believe that to be a mistake. It's not a good mistake. It's not right. But Durk is on several songs. The one thing that really bugs me about this situation, all right, I'm not trying to help prosecution too much, but this is just a fact. Durk has got several songs where he's mocking Quando for screaming no at the scene of the murder. Specifically, the song War With Us with 21 Savage, which came out, I believe, more towards a year, not the following year after the murder happened. And he says, got that song where he says, he's screaming, no, I said, let's go to war about it. Where he go? I bet you know the more got him. It's like, that's obviously about this. And I'm stunned that they haven't actually used that one yet. And they're kind of going back and forth about this, the Babyface Ray song, Wonderful Wayne and Jackie Boy. Oh, well, the metadata says the song was created before. It's like, bro, this guy was on several songs screaming no. And the idea that this is like, oh, there's false evidence. It's not really false evidence. It's a bad citation at best. Like that's just me being real, all right? Sorry, people are gonna be, oh, well, you're saying Durk's cooked and you've changed sides. There's no sides. It's a bad citation at best. And at the end of the day, Durk shouldn't have made all those songs talking about no, because that's what Quando did at the scene of this murder that he's now been associated with. He wanted to be associated with this murder. Anyway, all right, I've been talking for a long time. So while the motion was pending, defense counsel appeared on popular podcasts with hundreds of thousands of views. My boy Vlad, my boy Academics, no, all the homies, all right? All the homies. And there's more. We'll get to that in a minute. Then, following the filing of the third superseding indictment, counsel issued a press release using defendant Banks' social media account that criticised the new charges, calling the allegations false and lipstick on a pig, and contained other rhetoric suggesting the government was scrambling and pathetic. I'm not going to lie. no disrespect to the prosecutors. I think that bringing these charges are the right thing to do because it did seem like Durk was involved in this based on his own public statements. But there has been a little bit of scrambling. Pathetic's a little bit going a bit far, but I noticed a little bit of scrambling in that court date that I went to when Durk took the W. It is what it is. But let's see what was said, what is hyperlinked, okay? It says, this indictment is lipstick on a pig. For nearly 2 years now, federal prosecutors have desperately tried to fend off challenges to a very weak case. I would not say it's a very weak case, all right? It's I would say it's a somewhat strong case. Somewhat strong. I wouldn't say it's an airtight, it's not the David case. It's a somewhat strong case. Now, just 2 months before trial, a trial that Durk Banks has demanded at every turn, except when he did do delay a couple times, they pull this pathetic pivot, recycling old accusations into a scrambling prosecutor's backup plan, alleging racketeering and as many unrelated false claims as possible. This is not a sign of strength. It's an acknowledgement of weakness. The fact remains Durk Banks is innocent no matter how many indictments they want to throw at him. All right? So that was on his page, and I can't lie. If a juror read that, they would definitely get spun through a loop and be, thinking a whole different situation was going on. So there's that. And it says, counsel then gave an interview where he criticised the government, boasted the defence of defeating the government on so many legal issues, and claimed the community, including law enforcement officers, opposed the charges against defendant Banks, walking up to counsel and saying, free Durk. Now, I'll keep it real with you. I watched, I got multiple links for this. I watched, the David trial, and I saw the prosecutor send people out, eject them from the trial for being improper, saying things that they shouldn't have said. And honestly, it was basically made very clear that, communication between someone who was subpoenaed to appear in front of the grand jury and Celeste's family was improper. Now, I would say that Drew Findling stating that police officers, if he said some random guy on the street came up to him and said free Durk, that's one thing. But saying a sworn police officer who may well be working in a department that is related to this case came up to him in public and said free Durk, I would argue that is arguably improper. And that is what he said.
I have people coming to me off the streets going, free Durk, literally.
That's fine.
I have law enforcement officers.
That's going a bit far, Drew.
Walking up to me and saying free Durk. Okay. Yeah, so it's been really an amazing experience.
I got potential jurors walking up to me saying free Durk. I got judges. I got the judge on this case walking up to me. You can't. I'd say he took it a bit far when he said people on the streets cool, but when he grabbed him and said law enforcement officers, I think maybe he made a mistake. To be honest with you,
I have people coming to me off the streets going free Durk, literally. I have law enforcement officers walking up to me and saying free Durk. Okay. Yeah. So it's been really an amazing experience. I'm glad I've done it. Durk.
You're kind of misrepresenting the authorities' position on this, because at the end of the day, most law enforcement officers would want to uphold the law and solve a despicable murder that's carried out in their community. What law enforcement officers? LAPD, sworn LAPD that might have worked on the scene of this case? Oh, are they fans of Durk? So are they corrupt? Georgia Bureau of Investigation officers, perhaps? I don't think he should have said that personally, but I'm no lawyer.
Comes from Chicago. He's self-made. He was a Grammy Award winner. He was deeply involved in community service right here in your city. Okay, he had local politicians supporting him. He had people in the community supporting him, and they brought this case against him. And we have been defeating them on so many legal issues.
What is the likelihood that this turns out in Durk's favor?
Everybody that I've fought for years and years and years, everybody that knows I'm 24/7, man. You call me 3 in the morning, I'm at the police station. So that's not me. Because I'm in it to win it, and we're going to win it. I have people coming to me.
He said they're in it to win it, but I don't know about that. That statement was a little bit too far. I wonder if he regrets that. So in addition to that, all right, said on June 26, in light of these and other publicly disseminated statements, the government proposed joint gag order. Defense counsel disagreed, and following the July 14th hearing before this court, which I was at, the defense counsel conducted an impromptu press conference on the steps of the courthouse. I was there. I seen it. Rolling Stone. I was chatting to the people from Rolling Stone. I was chatting to Nancy Dillon. All right. Shout out to her. Okay. So this isn't great. All right. It's behind a paywall. Shout out. Oh, no, it's not. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think you're allowed to have a press conference outside. I think that's fine. I think maybe saying that is that's taking it a little bit too far. I'm not in agreement with the feds, but I think saying that law enforcement are coming up to me saying free Durk, don't know about that one, buddy. Like that one, you're taking things a little bit too far. So it goes on. It said that the parties talked about this and the other motions they intended to file. They indicated he opposes the requested relief. So the government are basically saying that they respectfully want to prohibit this stuff being, you know, allowed. More further commentary. They basically would love to gag order the basically it says impossible for jurors to avoid press coverage of the case. Now what is interesting is I wonder if that will mean that you know, the independent media, people like me, might not be allowed to report on this. Now it says basically, you know, pre-trial publicity is so extensive, jurors will have difficulty avoiding press coverage of the trial, the nearness of the trial, and whether the parties might attempt to introduce or improperly evidence in the press that would otherwise be inadmissible in the courtroom. Now, that's the thing, is I wonder whether they see people like me that saying, well, you know, what about the song War About It? Is that unfairly giving the prosecution an advantage? I don't know, but I'm independent, so I'm not involved in the case, so in theory I should be able to say what I want. But anyway, it says Durk's near continuous press operation in this case, the imminent trial date, and the significant publicity this case has garnered. Further public commentary by the parties and their representatives is unnecessary. So I'm pretty sure that's saying people like me can talk, but the actual parties and their representatives, I'm not a Durk representative, I'm independent, right? Unlike some people who are Team Durk apparently on Twitter, their representatives is unnecessary. It'll make it impossible for jurors to avoid press coverage of this case. So I do think that's very interesting. It's kind of making some of the arguments as to why and it's interesting here. It says, just to be clear, the government doesn't say that the press conferences outside the court were prejudicial in and of themselves, nor the defense counsel's statements to the press have been made for an improper motive or in bad faith. So that's interesting. So they're basically saying, look, they're not claiming that this was improper, although I think you could make that argument. It says, for the reasons explained in this motion, the government seeks relief in light of the increased publicity and amplification of defense statements opining on the issues that the jury must decide on. Basically saying that Drew Findling and Brian Steele shouldn't be out there giving their opinions and spinning the facts in a way that the jury should actually have to make decisions on, and it's really up to the jury in the end. And then it kind of makes some legal arguments for that. So interestingly enough, prosecutors are also trying to block testimony from Durk's expert witnesses. So this is a little bit of an update on that. It says the government wants to exclude or limit some of Durk's expert witnesses. Dr. Lance Williams, a Chicago gang urban studies scholar, will testify that drill rap is separate from actual gang activity, that modern gang affiliation reflects cultural identity rather than criminal membership. Now, that's a tall order. I'm not going to lie, that's a tall order. Even though I disagree with some of those points that are raised, I do think that those points should be brought up. I would respect this happening. I think the government naturally would want to exclude that. However, I think that if they want to include the lyrics, then Durk's legal team need to be able to bring in people who are going to say, well, you know, the music is really a representation of what's going on. Doesn't necessarily mean that's exactly what's happening, which is ironic because Durk's lyrics are very much, you know, the whole reason Durk and Von were the hottest rappers out at the time was because they super real. So I won't read you the paperwork on this necessarily, but basically they're expected to testify rap lyrics are largely fictionalized. Rap beats are often manufactured for commercial reasons. Lyrics are frequently collaboratively written or ghostwritten. Music management professional is also expected to testify about industry norms like luxury items, cash handling, social media branding. Matthew Boozer, an entertainment lawyer, is expected to testify about music industry business structures, features, labels, distribution, review processes. They want to exclude Dr. Nielsen entirely because his testimony is cumulative to Dr. Williams's, according to them, and his opinions are unsupported and speculative. They also argue that his opinion linking rap violence to African-American oppression should be excluded as improperly injecting race into the trial. That's a very interesting point. Exclude and limit Mr. Buser because his testimony on industry norms and business structures overlaps with Miss Britt's testimony, and exclude any testimony about the use of rap lyrics in other cases and jurisdictions, arguing that comparing this case to other rap lyric prosecutions would mislead and confuse the jury. I'm not going to lie. I'm so intrigued. I'm going to pull up the paperwork and read the bit of this as well. This is to exclude some of the defense testimony. Let me see. Is it this one? Is it this one? This one. The government motion in Lamine to exclude some of that testimony. This sounds very interesting. I'm not going to lie to you. So it says, defendant Banks has noticed 4 expert witnesses to testify about drill rap, reality rap originating in Chicago. Is that, bro, they should have got me. They should have got me on the stand. The if they could have these guys in, the prosecution should be allowed to call me and say, yo, this they got Durk on the song talking about this shit is not real. These are all props. And then I can hop up and say, yo, that shit was real, man. Look at what happened to Lil Jojo. That shit was crazy. Anyway, like, bruh, that's crazy. So this is a really interesting point, and they're basically going to try and get these people on the stand to basically argue that it's pure fiction, all right? These lyrics have no basis in reality. Many rap lyrics are hyperbolic, all right? Hyperbole. I accidentally said hyperbole in a video, man. People were onto me. But anyway, violence, profanity, use of firearm, drug use. It's commonplace to rappers to perform a beef when in reality there actually is none. All right. I wonder if this is like some leftover testimony that Brian Steele had from the Thug trial that didn't end up happening. This is really, really interesting, basically. And the state want to exclude it. And, you know, they're giving their reasons for it. You know, they're saying there's no factual basis for this. Often, you know, they're saying that Dr. Nielsen would have to know the lived realities of artists to say that the rap songs don't actually resemble them, which is very interesting. Saying these are sweeping, unsupported, speculative statements. Fake beefs is prejudicial to the jury's factual determination whether Durk had a real beef with Quando Rondo and whether the defendant Banks had a fake beef. You know, was Von's beef with Youngboy fake? Didn't seem fake. And it seemed like a real deal situation. So there's that, all right, and they kind of argue about that back and forth. Exhibit 1. So this is kind of backstory about people and basically saying what they're going to say, the books that they've written. I'm not going to lie, I might have to go and buy a bunch of these books because this sounds right up my street. He's written a book called King David and Boss Daly, The Black Disciples. I need to read that shit, man. Dr. Williams, you just got yourself a new customer, to be honest with you, because this is right up my street. And I've lost it and it's gone. So I'm definitely going to have to tap in and read some of these books. I'm not going to lie to you. I've just found some really interesting new stuff. You know, The Almighty Black P. Stone Nation, The Rise, Fall, and Resurgence of an American Gang. I think I referenced that book in a previous video about No Limit. You know, the history of the BDs and the GDs and their war, a sociological context. This is very interesting. This has got a whole breakdown of, you know, the high-rise projects, how they were knocked down. This is right on my street. Let this guy testify. I want to hear what he's got to say. Very interesting. Says young guys will adopt gang identifiers for status, social media following, and associate with drill rap without participating. I'm not gonna lie. How many times have we heard Juice WRLD talk about on veto? All right, Juice WRLD wasn't banging Black P Stone. Juice WRLD wasn't banging No Limit. All right, I think there are good actual examples of this, but again, it's very different when it comes to Lil Durk. Talking about the minimal influence of historical gang leaders. I'm not going to lie, this is extremely interesting stuff. And I'm actually going to have to sit down and just read through this more. This is very interesting. I've talked before about Chicago cred. Now, I don't know if that's a conflict of interest because I know that Durk's father was involved with Chicago cred at a certain point in time. But that's very, very interesting. And to be honest with you, I might need to touch base with Dr. Williams because he sounds like a very interesting character and somebody that I would actually probably have a really great conversation with. So there are more examples of people who studied inner city studies, knowledge of 50 years of personal experience with street gangs, presently in contact with Chicago Cred, a violence prevention organization. I've shouted out Chicago Cred and suggested people donate to them, and I've personally donated to Chicago Cred myself. You know what I'm saying? These are just it's just a fact. Okay. So this is super, super interesting. Sort of, they've done a lot of research and publications when it comes to crime and violence. Wow. They were invited by the United States Embassy to London, England to give a talk on gangs, drugs and prison in Chicago. I'm not going to lie. That probably went off. That's probably a UK drill damn near started with their influence. Like, you know what I'm saying? Maybe Lowski and a few of the UK drillers pulled up to that and got a few tips because that's when it all started popping off. I'll be honest with you. And she bills at a rate of $250 per hour for all the work I do. Holy, that's a lot of money. So when people are getting on to me, you're making money off of gang violence. She billing $250 an hour. I ain't getting no $250 an hour. $250 an hour is crazy. All right, that's crazy. But fair play to her. She's clearly very, very well known. expert witness in various court cases, the Black Disciples, the Sircon gangsters. Like, these are some of the legendary, was a consultant in a report on O Block, the Black Disciples, Dipset, and STL, the Federal Rico. I'm not going to lie. This is a mad... I need to know. I'm trying to have interviews with all of these people. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to look into all of these folks and phonemes. So more people, Dr. Eric Nielsen, PhD, a rap music expert, professor of the chair of the Department of Liberal Arts. All right. This is very interesting. Rap on Trial, Race, Lyrics, and Guilt in America. I'm very aware of that book. The Hip Hop and Obama Reader. I don't know about that one. We Will Speak Rap Lyrics on Trial. This is so interesting. My president is rap. My Lambo's blue. The Obamification of rap. I'll be honest with you. I've got a whole reading list after this. But he's anticipating to testify about the history of rap and the customs and the tropes, the hyper-masculine persona of rap music and how it's so profitable. Fascinating stuff. But the judge might say, yeah, this ain't gonna run. Okay, this guy went to the University of Sheffield, University College London. Is he British, or he just over there in England? The evolution of black arts in the United States. This is like very interesting stuff. The voice of hip hop. He's done all seminars on African American literature, rap on trial, all this kind of interesting stuff. Was part of the film As We Speak, rap lyrics on trial. It's fascinating, really, really interesting stuff, and has got a lot of legal experience. So there's testimony on testimony from experts in rap music and the rap music genre. All right, hella exhibits, hella people. All right, not Rock Nation. Nah, don't. Who's this from Rock Nation? Artist management for Rock Nation. There's an industry expert, probably on the financial side. More people. Matthew Boozer, who's going to be testifying. He's from a law firm, giving expert testimony. What's he testifying about? About features and the structures of artists' deals, feature performance making payment. I think he's probably going to talk about a feature on a different song. This is probably in relation to that Babyface Ray feature and, the very intense lyrics in there. But yeah, you get the gist, all right? So there's that. And they're also planning to introduce lyrics from Durk, sort of more of Durk's songs. Specifically pissed me off. They want the music video admitted to the trial. They said this isn't just rap lyrics, it's direct evidence of motive, intent, and participation. They said pissed me off is Durk publicly declaring his intent to slide and others to help. It says they're trying to say Durk's giving instructions through music, and it says that they incorrectly are arguing that this is a reference to King Von. It says, why you dudes posting Sun, why you posting True? Act like you're in support of us. Co-conspirators are anticipated to testify that True is Von's son. I've never heard that. Hang on a minute. Is that true? Excuse the pun. King Von Son's name. King Von Son's name. Well, I'm not seeing his son's name. I'm seeing different names. King Von's sons. King Von's kids. His daughter. Ooh, I think his daughter might be called True, His daughter might be called True. Why are you posting son? Why are you posting True? If his daughter's called True, then that's a problem. Wait. The youngest of his trio, Demi. True. Folks, I'm not going to lie. That is the name. True Bennett. So Von's second child and only son with chemo is widely recognized for a striking resemblance to his father, a prominent figure in the family's public updates. Davon Bennett Jr. So he's got... Son might be Dave, like Lil Von. Okay? Davon Bennett Jr. And that was who was on the cover of his grandson album, I believe. Davon Bennett Jr., second child and only son with chemo. Striking resemblance to his father, a prominent figure in public updates. His sister, True Bennett, was born at the height of Von's career, symbolizing loyalty and truth. The youngest of the trio is Demi Bennett, born just shortly before her father's passing. I ain't gonna lie, the feds might be onto something with this one. I ain't even heard that. They're saying, identifying True as being Von's son, they read son and assumed True was Von's son. Some will argue this is a typo of son's daughter. I'm not gonna lie. His son's called True. It's True, excuse the pun. I think son, grandson, son King Von's nickname was Grandson. Grandson. I ain't gonna lie. The feds just told me some shit about a lyric I had never heard before. Why are you posting Son? Why are you posting True? Why you act like you support us if you do hop in that coupe? I'm not gonna lie. That's bad for Durk. I'm sorry, but that's actually bad for Durk. I'm very, very intrigued. All right, they're saying Durk's imaginary manager needs to get his reading level up a little bit. Come on, man. I don't think True is being Von's son. That is Von's son. They read Son and assumed True was Von's son. Some will argue this is a typo of son daughter. To me, they have no idea what the lyrics mean. I ain't gonna lie. I think they just decoded the lyrics. All right, pissed me off, genius. That I ain't gonna lie. That actually just blew my mind. That blew my mind. Why are you dudes posting Son? Why are you posting True? It's a fact. It's a fact. This is on Genius. Why are you dudes posting Son? Why are you posting True? These are the children of late rapper King Von, Dave Von Jr. and True, son, grandson, son. Bro, that I did not know that. That's crazy. That's crazy. Why are you acting like you support us if you do hop in that coupe? Grab a gun if you ain't with it. Put up money for a gun. This one killed me. Grab a gun if you ain't with it. Put up money for a gun. Durk, did you put up money for a gun? Put up money for a hot car. Durk, did you send Vonnie to get the hot car? Put up money for a bond. All right. I don't see you on the regular, but I see you screaming Von. I got killers that I love and they don't rap. I got rappers that I love and they gonna splat. You better slide. If you can't get the main dude, then you better get his guys. What, like you got Pab? Like, oh my God. All right. Yes, this song came out before the murder of Lil Pab, but it shows intent, and that's what they were planning to do. That's crazy. Like, that one blew my mind. The government wants to include visual elements like gang signs, hand signs, gang claim location, and Inglewood, a King Von lookalike, Durk's V-Roy chain. It's apparently they accidentally said King Von lookalike when actually it's an old clip of King Von in the video. Durk's V-Roy chain, the OTF chain, a Long Live Von shirt. They're gonna have to show the fitted cap because I swear Durk said you can't have his name on a fitted cap unless you got back. And he got D-Thang name on a fitted cap. He got Von's name on a fitted cap. He got all of that. They admit in the motion the fact D-Thang is referenced in the song and seen on the t-shirt. Displays of cash, which corroborates the murder for hire. Having cash now means that you're funding a murder for hire. Okay, I don't know. That's a bit of a curveball. That one, I ain't gonna lie to you guys. That one's a little bit of a curveball. That's a wobbler, I would say. I'll wrap it up before we get to an hour, but that is very, very interesting. I'm not gonna lie to you. So there's some more business records that apparently they want to include. That's not what I was looking at. This is them looking to include the Piss Me Off music video here. I won't talk for more than an hour because it's already a long video, but this is basically kind of breaking down all the public pressure, the Slide for Von campaign, the Piss Me Off video. He basically claims that, you know, he's resolving to avenge Von's death, criticizes those that would rather party in nightclubs and post on social media than pick up a gun and get revenge. I'm not going to lie, it's not a great look. And why are you posting Son? Why are you posting True? I never clocked that. When I made all the videos I made about Durk and the getbacks and stuff. That's crazy. Okay. And he's highlighted that. Durk all day's highlighted that. All right. But that is actually bad for Durk. That's really bad for Durk. I'm not going to lie. That's bad for Durk. The co-conspirators are anticipated to testify True as Von's son. Damn. They clearly do know what they're talking about. Yeah, if they're unable to get the primary guy, we'll kill them. Indeed, Savia Robinson, Lil Pab was not the main target. Quando was, and co-conspirators are going to testify upon learning that Quando was, Lil Pab was killed instead of Quando. The defendant, Durk, was nevertheless elated. We're going to hear testimony from a snitch of exactly how Durk reacted when he found out Lil Pab was killed. That is actually going to be really bad. So they're going to include all of that. They're going to also have statements in a text message thread on August the 5th, 2023, a year after the murder of Lil Pab. Didi is apparently going to be in the group chat, and Durk is going to remark how crazy it is. Other people don't slide or hurt MFs, leaving it all up to us. It's crazy dudes don't slide or hurt a dude, leaving it all up to us. And I think they're going to be talking about O Block. That is crazy. That is crazy. So all the shows of money, Exhibit 5, Under Seal. That blew my mind. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. I do think there's a couple things here that are bad for Durk, a couple things that are good. It all depends on how this feisty judge decides to rule on these things. And I don't know if that's going to just be done on paperwork or if they're going to have a hearing about it in court. If they do, I will get to the bottom of it and try and get you guys the news as soon as it comes out. If not, I will be reacting to the paperwork. Why are you posting Sun? Why are you posting True? Why are you acting like you care about us? If you do hop in that coupe, damn, that's crazy. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching this one. I'm out for now. Peace.